Hello and welcome to Surfing Your Edge Live. I've had a hard time saying that today. My mouth isn't working. I'm so glad to have you here. And I'm also really glad to introduce you, if you don't already know her, to my guest today, Sherri Leopold. Sherri, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Christine. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. This is going to be a lot of fun. Sherri is a new person in my world, but she is extremely fiery and full of good ideas and good energy, and you're going to love her. I had to share her with you immediately. So,
Thank you.
if you don't already know Sherri, she is the CEO of Option Creators Inc. She's a mentor and leader of the Stop Self-Bullying movement, and she's the founder of the Wow Warrior platform, the publisher of Wow Warrior magazine, host of the Wow Warrior show, and Wow Look Who's Here. She's currently a chancellor mentor and a regional director candidate with Givers University. In addition, she has over 26 years in network marketing and direct sales and experience in speaking, mentoring, and team building. She can help you transform your life physically, mentally, and financially through falling in love with yourself first. So I think you can already see the alignment here. I'm really glad to have you here, Sherri.
Thank you so much, Christine. I was here and I was like, wow, that person sounds really cool. Oh, wait, that's me.
Yes. Yes. And there's so much in here that I want to talk about. But let's just jump into the Stop Self-Bullying movement. Who is that for, and why did you start it?
So it started about, I guess it was a little over 5.5 years ago. It's kind of a long story, but I'll give you the real bite-sized version of driving the car, and I heard on the radio that Anthony Bourdain had committed suicide just 3 days after Kate Spade. And I was driving by myself, was going to a networking event. I said, oh my God, this has to stop. And I turned the radio down. I was only on a 10-minute drive to this event. But I guess I was talking to God. I was like, what is wrong with this picture? Like, these two individuals had dream jobs. They had built businesses like of their dreams, literally. They were making money. So it wasn't a financial stressor, right? And they both had loving families. And I'm like, I did not understand what could possibly drive these two individuals to do something like that. And it prefaces by the night before, I had a friend who was really going through a tough time, sitting on my floor, looking up at me, and she just went, oh. And she didn't say anything out loud, but I said, why did you say that to yourself? And she said, what? She looked startled, and she said, I didn't say anything. I said, you mean you didn't just say, I'm always going to be broke, I'm always going to be alone, I suck? And she eyes got wide, and she said, wow. That was the first time I heard the word wow, and which we'll talk about later. But I was like, did you think I needed to hear you say it to be able to hear it? And she said, wow, again. And I could feel, like, I'm very empathic, but I could feel her drain on her energy. So I said, let's get up. Let's go for a walk. So we went and walked, and we talked, and we both felt better. I was able to sort of get some of that heavy energy off, and she was able to change the body chemistry through the exercise that we went on as well. But her face immediately came to my mind in that car. And I was like, oh my gosh, she works at a $10 an hour job. She's had family issues. She's divorced. She had a heart attack, in her 40s. And I'm like, all these things. And I was like, and these people had everything. And all I could think about was, what could I do to, like, I didn't want to get the phone call about her, right? Like, that was what was predominant in my mind, which is why I kind of yelled in the car, oh my God, this has got to stop. And so I was like, what can I do? I immediately felt this insurgent need, like, I have to do something. And I share a nutritional supplement, and I'm like, my cell vitamins, I don't know what I can do. Like, but I had just turned in my first chapter in a collaborative book. And so immediately I thought, I'll write a book. And I was like, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be about. I don't know what it's going to entail. But I stopped for a second, and I was thinking, all in this 10-minute drive, what was the common denominator? What would be the common denominator between these two very famous, very well-known, outgoing people? and my friend who was sitting on the floor. And I was like, it's because of the conversation when I said, did you think I needed to hear you say it to know you said it? And I was like, it's because she validated that what she had just said in her head made her go, oh, like, but that was the sign, right? Like that was the thing. And I was like, the common denominator is what they're saying to themselves. And I immediately thought it's self-bullying. That is literally what dropped in. I think that's why I said God was sitting in the passenger seat, because like that's what the download was, you know? And I was like, self-bullying. What to do when the bully is you. That was literally the name of the book. And that's where all of that started. And I was like, we have got to have better conversations with people around what we are saying to ourselves. We have to be more vocal about what we're saying. We have to learn tools and things that we can do to navigate this ticker that runs constantly in our head. So that's kind of where it started. And the funny thing is, at that networking group, one of my friends, after a meeting, I was very quiet because like the wheels were going, like, right. And she's like, what have you been up to? I haven't seen you for a while. I said, I'm going to write a book. She said, you are? What's it called? And I said, Self-Bullying, What to Do When the Bully Is You. And she goes, wow. There's the wow again. She's like, wow, I can't wait to read it. And I'm dying of laughter because I'm like, oh, wow, I can't wait to write it. I don't even have a word of the book. I don't know what it's going to look like or anything, but I was just, the funny thing is I felt very sure though, you know, I just knew that that was what I was supposed to do. I just didn't know what it was going to look like, but I did have faith that whatever was supposed to be in it would come to me and I would know, right? Like that something would come to me that I would be able to help with that navigation of that inner voice, is what I call it, Ivy. So that constantly runs on repeat, which is not always nice to us. And so the book sort of rolled out. I started speaking on it, and I realized, you know, and through writing the book, it took me a year to actually get it into print, but speaking on it during the time and bringing the conversation to awareness made me understand that no one is immune, because that was a question you asked, like, who's it for? It's for everyone. I always say the Pope is not immune, the president. It doesn't matter who you are. We all do that. We all speak to ourselves like that. It's just a matter of how fast you can pull yourself out of that, and or whether you have a tribe that understands it, hears it if you say it, and will call you on it.
Absolutely. Wow. Again, there's that word. I can't
So
stop
great.
saying it to you, and apparently no one else can either.
I know.
I remember having the same realization hearing Patrick Swayze talk about, you know, he was at the peak of his career and talking about the negative voices in his head and how hard life was for him. And it's like, you're gorgeous, you're talented, you've got money, you can go anywhere, you can meet anyone, you know. So it's like you said, it really does affect everybody, and you just don't know what's going through another person's head, except, you know, obviously you in that moment did know what was going through your friend's head, but it's just really hard to know if people aren't willing to talk about it. And so I love.
And yes, and also like there's that thing that you realize that when it's only inside your head, you do feel like you are the only one. And that's what I, you know, as I say, the leader of the Stop Self-Bullying movement, part of it, as if you will, the leader, I want to yell from the rooftops, you're not alone. Everybody's doing it. It's not necessarily like a thing you want to say, come on, all, let's do it. But we want to bring awareness to it, because that is the number one thing, is to catch yourself immediately when you start to slide into that nasty groove that's unfortunately very comfortable. And and I teach a technique in the book about how to catch yourself and how to teach it to your own network, your family, your friends, so that they can catch you if they hear you saying it and you don't catch yourself, which is why I call it a movement. And I call it a ripple. Like I want to teach you so that you can say to your child, to your mother, to whoever, hey, like it is very nice to say to yourself, that doesn't paint you in a very good light. Can you say what you want to say a different way? Because your brain's always listening. That's the thing.
Right.
I'm a licensed brain trainer with Dr. Amen as well. So and I have that in my bio, but like I learned that after I wrote the book, which is very interesting to me because some of the stuff in the book he actually has in a book that he released a couple of years ago. And I'm like, he calls it ants, automatic negative thoughts. And I'm
Right.
like, yes, like that's what it is. There are a bunch of ants running around up in there. And, we just gotta, like ants can be a nuisance. Gotta stomp them out, right?
Ooh, my friend E.O. Wilson would disagree about ants. Different ants, the ones that are on the ground.
Oh, yes, yes.
But yes, the
Well, when
ones
they're
in your
running around in your head, they're not that great.
absolutely. Yes, I hear you.
They're just fine outside. Not a fan on my kitchen sink, but
Well, I love that you immediately felt called to do something. You immediately decided you were going to do something, even though you didn't know what it was going to be. And then even after you knew it was going to be a book, you still didn't know what it was going to look like. So I love the message that have faith. First of all, have faith that you can make a difference, no matter
yes.
who you are, where you are, you can make a difference. And two, that the difference you need to make you will make it. It will come to you and that it will change people's lives and your life along the way. So I love all of that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing.
And I think sometimes, Christine, one of the things that I find when talking to people in general, especially women, I think, and, you and I both know a lot of coaches and authors and different things like this. I think sometimes we see when women especially, but people in general are struggling with something that they want to do that's either content related or they want to put something out in business. They think that it only is important if they have massive appeal or massive impact. That's actually not true. That's also one of those things that runs around. Well, if I'm not making 6 figures, 7 figures, 9 figures, whatever people are talking about, then I'm not doing that well. And the reality is that's what needs to be adjusted is what's your real goal? Is it to impact? And the fact is, if your work, whatever it is, impacts one person in a positive way, is the world a better place? How about we start there? Can we just start with, can I make an impact and take those baby steps and allow it to grow? Nobody starts at the top. There's a reason there's a climb up a mountain and that we have a driver's permit before we have a driver's license. It's the course, the journey, and everybody wants to compare their, like my husband runs marathons, their mile 2, 3 to someone else's mile 26. And we just got to stop that. Eleanor Roosevelt, I think, was one of the first ones to say, comparison is the thief of joy. It truly, truly is. It is just something that robs you of all joy. Just focus on, can I impact one person with what I'm doing or my existence on this planet? Like maybe it's your own grandchild because you've given them the confidence to read well or, ride a bike, or you taught them one thing, anything. It doesn't have to be so grandiose. Like that's what people think. I have to be, the female Tony Robbins, or I'm not making an impact. That's absolutely not true. If you're impacting one person, then that's a beautiful thing, and celebrate that. I think that's a real problem that we have is we aren't able to celebrate the things that we accomplish because we're too stinking busy comparing them to somebody else who seems like they're doing it bigger or better or more.
Right. Absolutely. And the other thing is too, that even if you impact only one person, you may not see the ripple that
100%. Reminds me of, I don't know if I told you this, the running off the dock thing that I wrote a book or a chapter in a book called Finding Your Purpose. And my chapter is called Let's Do a Cannonball Together. And it's actually based on the fact that, like, my legacy is really to help other women and people in general really reach their own legacy, right? And that's, if you run off the dock and do a cannonball into a lake and you make a big old splash and you have the ripples, right? But if I run off and I lock arms with you and we both run off together, like we're doing right now, right? I'm sharing it with my network. You'll share it with your network. And together we make a much bigger splash and there's much more ripples. And the reality is, I may never see the people or know the people that something might touch or make them stop for a second and go, oh, wait, I am doing okay. Like, it might be that one person, I don't need to see it. I don't need to know it. I just need to know it's there. You know, and that somebody heard it. And so, like, that ripple is not measurable in the sense. That's why the comparison thing is so awful, because it robs you of the success you have inherently by being you, and you don't even know it. So just know you're putting good in the world.
I agree. And I realized that I was ignoring comments. Wendy Barr is here with us. We both
I love
love
Wendy.
Wendy.
We
Yes.
thank her for introducing us.
Absolutely. She's here and she says that we are both ripple makers. So
yes.
I love that. Thank you, Wendy. So that brings us to your wider platform and the WOW platform that we've already kind of introduced. So, and I think it's a little empire actually, but what does WOW stand for in the WOW Warrior?
Sure. So as you heard already in the as we've been talking, the WOW is actually been a very big word in my world in the last 5-6 years. And I think I've always loved the word wow, because it just exudes excitement. But there is actually, it's an acronym, and it does stand for Woman of Worth, Warrior. And when I heard that word wow, I knew I was going to somehow envelope it, if you will, with the Stop Self-Bullying movement, because it was so attached to that, right? My friend said it on the floor, in the car, like my friend at the networking. So it was predominant. And when I said the title, I think to about the first 10 people, I literally kept hearing wow, wow, wow. So I felt like that was my cue to go, okay, incorporate that. And I was actually at a speaking engagement talking about the self-bullying, and I heard a woman talking about the difference between a soldier and a warrior. And she said, a soldier is taught to fight and a warrior is born to fight. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, this makes so much sense, because I knew I wanted to have that word warrior in there. It just was something internally. And I thought the wow was going to be one of the W's. And a friend of mine from Texas, we were walking after another speaking engagement, and I said, I want to do something with wow. And she said, oh, Woman of Worth. And I was like, yes, that's it. Woman of Worth, warrior. And I was like, in a wow warrior. So that's actually kind of how it was born. But I knew from the time that I wrote the book 5 years ago, I knew deep in here, I knew that wow was going to be very, very important. And so the platform, if you want me to share, I can share actually how that began. The wow, actually, with the WOW Warrior, started with an award, and I will explain it as I wanted to honor Women of Worth warriors. And I decided I wanted to do it in Women's History Month. And I really wanted to be able to highlight very powerful, confident, strong, positive women who are making those ripples right out in the universe and doing good in the world. But I sat down and I thought about, well, what does this criteria look like? And I wanted to do it during Women's History Month. So I chose to go into my network, and I asked 31 women. And I don't always have 31, but the first 3 years ago, I did have 31. And I did an interview every day with a WOW warrior. The Wow Warrior criteria is actually someone who is literally living their legacy out loud, like what they were put here for, right? And like you are with surfing your edge, like you, that's your passion, right? Standing in that passion. And I say standing up and standing out as the unrepeatable miracle that you are. Yet while you're climbing that ladder of success, one hand is climbing and one hand is always reaching to help and lift another woman. And they're showing the way. They completely understand that they are inherently an inspiration to other women, that they are a role model. They accept that role willingly. And knowing that they're not perfect, scars and all, trauma and all, we've had so many different types of women who have been through all kinds of stuff. I can't even tell you all the different kinds. There's so many. You just have to go investigate all the different women that have gotten the honor. But the interesting thing is, and I know you wanted me to share this. So when I asked the women, I actually explained to them what the honor was, what the award was, and explained, like I just did, what the criteria was. But I said to them, I always say, is that you? And then they'll say yes. And I'll say, when I've had people say, you know, how do you get the award? And I'm like, it's an award you have to give yourself. Like, I just share what the criteria are and ask you, is that you? And you have to give it to yourself. I don't say I give this to you because it's not my award to give. It is your award to give yourself. And you know, Wendy was watching, and Wendy is one of the 2024 honorees, and I'm so proud of her. And she's a perfect example of that. She isn't perfect, but she's perfectly her, and that
Mm,
is what is important. She knows who she is, and she is able to share her gifts and talents and lift other women. And
absolutely.
so that's what the award is, and it kind of morphed into the magazine and the show because I needed to have more cool people around me. I
I
just
love
love
it.
powerful women, and it was like, oh no, this was only in March, and so I had to expand it a little bit so I could reach more really amazing women. So it sort of morphed into more, which is why you called it empire, and that's kind of how I feel about it. It's grown and it's just beautiful, and I'm so grateful to be able to be connected with such incredible women, just continually. It's just amazing. So
I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's like when people talk about Facebook and, you know, social media being negative spaces, I think you and I have already touched on this
yes.
on our first private conversation, is that we just don't see it because we know so many amazing people and that's who we surround ourselves with. And it's just an honor to keep meeting and interacting with the most amazing people. And I'm so excited to have met you.
Yes, thank you. And I feel the same way. I mean, I think, you know, once you, and this is really part of like the wow warrior, is knowing yourself and knowing you are inherently amazing and that you are perfectly imperfect, right? There is no one like you. This is why you'll hear me always say the phrase, standing up and standing out as the unrepeatable miracle that you are. And I say that not in a religious sense. I say that in a scientific sense, really. There
Mm,
is not another person on this planet that has your DNA. You are that special and truly unique. Like literally to your cellular level. Nobody can say what you say. Nobody can do what you do, the way you do it, the way you say it. That's why we don't, I like to remind people that your content doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be perfectly you, right?
mhm.
Like when you're promoting something, people can't do it the way you do it. That's why we don't look at other people. We don't have their DNA. Like, right? We don't need to write a book like somebody else. We need to write our book. You know, we need to do our speaking engagement the way we would do it. And as long as you do it, that action taking, you know, is going to be rewarded and you're going to touch the people that you need to touch.
Absolutely. I love how much faith you have, you know, just faith that just keep going, keep being you, keep sharing. I love that.
And can I tell you why I have that?
Yes.
There's actually, and this goes to show why it's really, really important to have really amazing people in what I call your tribe, that, those warriors around you. Because when I launched this, I finally got the book out. I had spoken like 6 or 8 times already on the book before I even released the book. I was like, I had the moment where I had to have somebody in my network correct me, because she said, I said to her, oh, there's so many people in this space. It's so crowded. I don't know how to, I was doing one of these. I don't know, what am I doing kind of thing. I can't make an impact here. Like, I was having one of those moments. And this is why it's really, really important that you have these people around you. And she said to me, and she is an ordained pastor, but she said to me, Sherri, she said, do you think God would give this message to just you? Do you think he would give you this task, only you? And I said, I don't know what you mean. I said, I feel like it is my mission. It is what I was given. And she said, I'm not questioning that. She said, but do you think he could only give that to you? What if you chose not to be obedient? What if you chose not to do it? Then the work wouldn't be done. He said, you might have to give it to 25 or 100 people to get the work done. She said, only you can do it your way. I was like, whoa, like that was like a huge lightning bulb or lightning, like,
Yeah.
whoa. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Cause like I was on that edge of, not quitting necessarily, but like I had no idea, what am I even trying to do, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And she pulled me back, if you will, from the edge and say, no, don't jump. Like, this is something you're supposed to be doing, you
Yeah.
know. And if you feel led to do it, that means you're supposed to be doing it. So having those really incredible people around you is so, so important.
What I also heard when you said that was that you don't have to do it all by yourself, right? You do
Yep.
what's in front of you. You impact the people who are in front of you and let the rest be taken care of by the other people who are on a similar mission. But you don't have to do it all by yourself.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, I remember thinking, and I've still had this. So, when I say we're not immune, it still comes up sometimes for me. Like, other people have super organized, like, programs, step by step by step. And sometimes it's that moment of little bit of intimidation. Like, maybe I don't have it together enough. We don't have it organized enough, and like the way they do. But the thing is, everybody learns differently. And I stand and correct myself, because I'm like, that's probably not who is for me. Like, I'm not necessarily the person that, or they may not be the person who would work with me, would work with them. It's not the same type of person. Once again, right, there might be 100 people, and some people are going to really gravitate towards that checklist kind of program. Other people are going to be more free flowing. Let's talk about it. Let's feel it. Let's, kind of immerse in it in conversation. Like, it's going to be different. But there has to be different ways, because we're all different, right? So we
Mhm.
receive different.
I love that. And again, this is kind of off on a tangent, but I get the feeling that you don't believe in competition.
No, I don't believe there's any such thing. I think even if we did exactly the same type of thing, and this is how I say this. So, like, I know a friend of mine that has a couple of them that have the John Maxwell certification training, right? Both beautiful human beings. I can guarantee you that if you put them side by side, each in a room of 20 people, they would deliver whatever content completely differently, even though it was the same content. Because that's the part that points back to the unrepeatable miracle. We each have our own life experiences. We each have different experiences from growing up. We have been raised differently. There is not a chance in the world that the impact would be exactly identical, even being trained in the same coursework, because we bring different examples, we bring different energy, we present different. And so you could have 5 people that went through the same training do a summit. and they
Mhm.
wouldn't talk about the same thing the same way. It would be slightly different. So I look at it like that. I will collaborate with anyone,
Mhm.
because I don't worry about that. And the thing is, if I bring somebody in and they see you, Christine, they say, "Oh my gosh, I want to do that. I want to go on that trip. I want to do that." I would be like, "Yes, that's amazing. Go." Like the thing is, because you will learn, right? You will learn from all kinds of people. I
Right.
would never in my wildest dreams think that somebody could only learn, from me, from my way or whatever. That would be silly because I don't have one person that I learn from. I want to
Right.
learn something from everybody I meet.
Right. Right. And that again goes to another way of being, right? That if you're not being fully you, then you're not doing your job. That's the way that's the way that you do your work is by
Yeah,
being you and showing up as yourself, no matter what that looks like, because otherwise they can't tell you from the next person, right? They
right,
need to see things through your eyes. And I think the universe is actually learning about itself through each of us, right? And it can only get my story from me. It can only get my version of how the world works by seeing it through my eyes. So the more
right.
you can let go of all of the shoulds and the woulds and the, oh, I wish I could, let all of that go and just be you. That is when you're really on your path and when you're on your purpose and when you're doing the work you came here to do. So a lot of times, like I have a program called Bigger, Bolder, Badass, and people are like, oh, you're going to ask me to do a bunch of stuff. And it's like, no, I'm going to ask you to get rid of all the stuff that's not working, all the stuff that's not you, and then just relax into who you are. So, anyway.
Well, and I think we just have so many frameworks that are handed to us that
Mhm.
aren't truly us. And it's funny because it's been coming up a lot lately in conversations and personal conversations like, who taught you that? I just have said just that. Who taught you that? And they're kind of like, well, what do you mean? Whether they were religious constructs or, something about how you do something. I was like, who taught you that? Oh, I don't know. It's just the way. No, no, it's not just the way because I don't do it that way. I'm like, all I'm doing is bringing awareness to the fact that maybe you want to do it some other way than that way, or is that the way that really feels good to you, like,
Mm,
and makes sense to you in here, like heart centered and intellectually? Does that work for you, or did somebody hand that to you? It's
right,
okay if it's your way and it makes sense, but I don't think that we're required to take everything that we were taught along the way and just cookie cutter it and be the next generation's version of that.
right.
This is why we have a brain. We should use it and discern and think about what it feels like for us and how it looks. And, does this make sense to me? We should use that process, um, as you said, to kind of stand in our own power, right? I kind of talk about it as being the power of me. In fact, I have shirts that go like this, the power of me, because it's like reminding us that we are the ones that flip the switch on, right? And you plug in your own power cord. When you plug in your own power cord, you know that if you suddenly someone trips over your cord and unplugs you, and all of a sudden you're like, you have the ability to plug it back in because you're the boss of you.
I love that analogy. That's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And what we're talking about here takes some courage, right? You can't, it takes a lot of courage to just be yourself in the world. And that's kind of what I refer to as surfing your edge, right? Always being on the edge of your comfort zone so that you're constantly growing and becoming the you're meant to be. So I wanted to ask you, this is what I usually put my guests in a little bit of a heart seat here and say, when did you have to surf your edge? Like, what is there an experience from your past where you had to really get out on the edge of your comfort zone in order to get where you were going? And what was the result of you having the courage to go there and do that?
It's interesting because when I heard that question, actually what I thought of is I'm doing it right now. It's just that nobody knows it.
Mm-hmm.
Really, because right now I'm with a company that is in pre-launch, and I've been working with them for a year. I don't want to say covertly, but just because everything is proprietary and it's being done in private briefing. So I have been working to help build a company that I am involved with. You might have heard it in the intro, with Givers University, that is not launched yet. So I have had to, if you want to say, be on that edge and be completely faith filled with the entire thing, because I don't have any products to share right now. There, it's not launched, so I can't really do anything overtly. I've had to do everything, all the work internally and on a personal level, which is different than anything I've ever had to do before. So, and I've had to learn a lot inside the company, and have done speaking and presenting inside on something that I've never spoke on. So there's been a lot of that on the edge of, oh, I guess I'll figure that out. But it's just that same. It goes back to that, having that faith, in the process, but also faith in yourself that I can handle whatever is given to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the knowing, and somebody asked me what, just in the last couple weeks, about how I want to get to that space like you have, where it's that knowing, like you just know. And I said, oh, I totally can help you with that. And she said, well, what do I need to do? And I said, go look in the mirror, and that's your answer. I mean, like, that's it. The person in the mirror is your answer. I said, when you know yourself really well, you'll be able to do anything you want. Because when you fall in love with you 100% exactly as you are, no qualifiers, as that unrepeatable miracle, that's where you can do anything you want.
I love it. And we're back to falling in love with ourselves again.
100%. It's, and people, I think they look sometimes at what you do, like they say, oh my gosh, you have a magazine or whatever. I'm like, did I know if it was going to work? Did I know anything it was going to be? No, I just decided that was what I wanted to do. And I figured it out along the way. I did not need perfection, that 26th mile or whatever, compared to the first. I don't need to look at somebody who has 100,000 subscribers. You can't start there. All I needed to do was start.
Yeah.
And that's with anything. Did I know the Wow Warrior platform would do anything? I didn't know anything. I just had an idea and was very passionate about that, and said, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to figure it out. And that comes from knowing that even if it had failed, or if any of the things I've done have failed, because I've done things that haven't worked out, most assuredly, it's not a reflection of who I am. Right. It doesn't mean I am a failure. And at this point, I always like to say, if you've not read John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward, I think it should be
Mhm.
in every single person's library. You can go listen to it on YouTube for free.
Mhm.
It is one of the most brilliantly read or written books. It is how you learn,
Mhm.
how you learn.
Yes.
And
And
you can't, I always say, do you remember when you've had great success with something and you go, oh my gosh, I learned so much because everything went right? Said no one ever.
right.
It's like, no, you got to do something, right? And things have to go wrong, and things, you have to be able to have something to improve on and go, oh, that didn't work. My marketing didn't work, or that didn't work. It doesn't mean it was a failure.
Right.
It just means
And
that that process didn't work. So do another process.
and I just feel like I know for myself and other women I've met, there's this sense that we're not supposed to make mistakes, right? Even in school, the boys can say whatever they think or whatever comes out of their mouth, they just say it.
Yep.
Girls sit back and they like figure out, what do I really think before I say anything?
Yep.
And I know that for myself, I spent 10 years, once I learned about the possibility that you could be a nomadic, a digital nomad, and like work from anywhere in the world and be your own boss. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I wanted to do that. I wanted that desperately. And so I spent 10 years researching and getting coaches and thinking and reading and buying programs and getting ready. And I thought, I'm a smart woman. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out where I am and where I'm going, and I'm going to map it, and it's going to be perfect, and it's going to be beautiful, and I'm not going to make any mistakes, and I'm not going to embarrass myself, and I'm not going to spend money that I shouldn't spend money on, and it's going to be gorgeous. And I just kept sitting there spinning for 10 years. And finally, I heard the phrase, a path is made by walking. And I realized
Brilliant.
you have to take a step, and then you look around, and then you're like, where's the next step? And you take that step. And you can't think your way through it. You just can't think your way from where you are to where you want to go, because if you're doing that, then you're not doing your work. You're doing work you've seen somebody else do.
100%. Beautifully said. And, I think we do tend to overthink things to death because we think we have to have it perfect before we start. I think a classic example of that is when children are raised with their parents and they think that the house they left maybe when they went to college or out on their own is the house they should start with. Out on their own. It's like, you don't get to pick up where your parents left off. They've been working for 25 years. It's like, hello, like back it up a little bit. But it's the same. But that's like the first case, I think, where we start to see that. And we really have to just embrace exactly where we are at the moment. I have a saying that it's kind of about action, and I'm very, very much an action taker. Even imperfect action is better than no action. So I have a saying that I say, do nothing, you'll get nothing. Do something and you'll get something. And even if it's not exactly what you wanted, you'll have something to work with. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Action is always rewarded. And when you don't take action, it's your giveaway, your choice. I have all kinds of phrases that I like to say, but choices create change. When you change your choices change. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is, the reason choice is so important, and it's a huge part of the Stop Self-Bullying movement. It's a huge part of the WOW Warrior platform. In its underlying philosophy is that choice is everything. Women especially get so hung up on the, oh, I don't know, I shouldn't do this, like the 10 years, right? Like, oh, should I do this? Maybe I'll just take this one course. I'll just do this. I'll do one more thing. Like thinking they got to get it somehow more perfected, right? Or whatever. And the reality is when you do that, you're making it, that inaction is a choice, right? But the problem with inaction is that inaction only allows one thing to happen. You no longer have the ability to respond. You give all your power away and you only can react. And so that's why I'm like, you know what? Just do something, anything. Do something. Even if it's a itty bitty tiny centimeter step forward, it's better than doing nothing because you remain in the power seat, the control of, and I don't mean to be like a control freak. I mean, you get to control the movement of whether it's your course, your business, your life, your relationships. Somebody got hurt and they want to tip their toe into dating. I don't care what little thing it is, make a tiny step, because doing nothing, you're going to sit and wait till somebody finds you. I will guarantee you, if that's the case, the wrong person's going to find you.
Absolutely.
You're going to have a mess. I'll guarantee it. So, I mean, it's one of those things where we have to remain in the choice seat, right? Like, I will make my choices for myself, and that you retain your power that way. And the thing is, I'd rather make 10,000 wrong decisions and wrong choices because at least I did something with forward moving action. I mean, that's just it. It's a pet peeve of mine when people say, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I'm like, you do. You got a million of them. Make one. If you make a bad one, you're like, oh, you got 10 million more immediately. Like if I say this immediately, I can say something else, even if I said it wrong. You have all the choices in the world. You don't just have one. You never have just one. And I would say sometimes all the choices seem poopy, Christine, but you got to just pick one and do something. Because if you just pick one, at least you're still in the power seat. Like you're still in control of your life, your business, the relationship, whatever. It's that movement, right? That you get to make to be in control.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know that you have something coming up in the next couple of weeks. That's kind of a fun thing.
It
And,
is.
a lot of times I think women in particular aren't necessarily so good at standing up and claiming their awards for themselves, but we really are good at um, pointing out the qualities and the accomplishments of other people. And so I think you have an offer here that will let us use
Yeah.
that skill of shouting out someone that we love.
Absolutely. So I have my regular magazine, the Wow Warrior magazine, the Woman of Worth Warrior. That comes out quarterly. The next issue will be coming out in June. But I have a special edition of the Wow Warrior magazine. This will actually be the second one. And it is actually the Wow Mom Warrior. So just so you know, that is Woman of Worth. You flip it upside down for mom, and that is Mover of Mountains. That's what a mom is to me. They will move mountains for their kids. So it's Wow Mom Warrior. And actually, what it is an open love letter to a mom or mom figure that you've had. Some people write about their aunt. Some people write, I had just had one submitted for somebody that wrote about their daughter in law. As she calls her daughter in love. And it's a beautiful written story, just highlighting her as a person and as a mom and how much she admires her. So that's what it is. It's an open love letter to your mom. So I would say the article lives forever, and like flowers, they fade and they die. But that article in that magazine will live forever. Every single honoree of the Wow Moms will be their picture will be on the cover in a composite with the rest of the honorees. So it's a great way to just honor that special mother or mother figure. I have had many people that honor their mom if they've passed, or their grandma, somebody who is influential to them. You can tell funny stories, you get to put pictures about them. You can talk about lessons maybe that they taught you, or life lessons you learned that have been impactful for you. It's literally just, like I said, an open love letter and an expression of honoring that person. So it's been a really tremendous blessing to read through the different articles coming in. And it is $57 for that article in there. And it's just a really beautiful issue. And I'm so happy that I chose to do that last year. And I'm really looking forward to doing it again this year. So they can submit articles. Like my really hard fast stop date will be April 25th at the absolute last. The articles are 500 words, and you can put 3 to 5 pictures. It can be of the honoree, it could be pictures of you with them. So that's what I'd like to offer. I would love to connect, and if you can always connect with me if you have more questions as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I hope everyone will check that out. And I love that you gave a hard date for when things are due.
Yeah, and actually the issue will be out somewhere around May 5th. So we like to have it out the week before, close to Mother's Day, which I believe is is it the 9th or 12th? And I'm like blanking at what day it is. So
Yeah.
I got to have a couple of weeks at least to, kind of make sure that it's all lined up correctly and all that. So, and they will get a copy of their, I am including a copy of their specific PDF of their article as well. So if they want to have it framed as well, you can actually also request to get it printed as well. So.
Wonderful. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You are definitely a champion of women everywhere.
Oh, thank you. I hope so. Like my mother was that. My own mother was that. So she passed away. It'll be 2 years this year, and she was such a strong woman, and I really learned so much from her that even in some of her trials that she had, she always was a fighter. She came back strong no matter what happened. She did not, even if she got down, she didn't stay down. And I think that's truly part of that wow warrior. It's like understanding that, those time periods, they are temporary. They are
Mm-hmm.
temporary. They are not you. That's even like failure is very temporary defeat. It doesn't mean that you are done or flat out can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. So if someone wanted to get involved with your work in another area, if they wanted to become part of your movement or part of your empire, help support you in your empire, how would they get in touch with you?
Sure. They can reach me on all social medias at Sherri Leopold. You can drop in my inbox anywhere. I even check my other folders because I do have a lot of people that drop in there and connect with me there. I am pretty much at my limit on Facebook, but I have a lot of people that just follow what I do there. But also you can always go to sherrileopold.com and you can schedule a time to talk with me either through a private message on social or also there's a book a time to talk with me on there. So, and I'm happy to connect with anyone who wants to share what they're doing or has a collaboration or maybe just wants to get to know each other. I am always open for that.
Awesome. And I know it feels like we're wrapping up, but I actually have two more questions for you.
Sure.
One of the things that I've realized over and over again in the last several years is that it's not so much about what I do that matters, but as how I'm being in the world and how I'm showing up. So I'm wondering, what ways of being are you actively choosing for yourself right now?
I think one of the things I'm focused most on right now is truly being present with wherever it is. Like right now, I am present, very present with you and the viewers. Like I'm not trying to think about doing something else. I am right here. And, when I'm with family, like somebody messaged me last night and I was out in the front yard with my grandkids and two of my kids were here with their kids. And we were playing on the bikes and blowing bubbles and my phone, I think I had 6 messages when I came in. I didn't even open my phone except to take pictures with them out there. I was
Mm.
very present and I was like, oh goodness, I'm sorry I didn't see your message till 2 hours after. I mean, that's just I think that's one of the things I'm just very much practicing right now. Like if I am with a client or a mentoring client or something, I am present with them only. That's very important to me. I think in today's crazy electronic age and things like that, I think it's important that we pay attention, if that makes sense, when we are connecting with people. There's so many distractions and things like that. I think that we owe it to ourselves and whoever we're talking to or meeting with to be present.
I love that. And you're so right. I think it's the only way to slow down time as well.
Yeah.
If we don't pay attention to every moment, then why are we here?
Right.
So that was awesome. And then I know I have another one. What was, oh, here we go. And if you had one piece of advice for someone who isn't necessarily feeling that they're living in that courageous place where they can be themselves in the world and they are hearing the negative voices in their minds, what's your best piece of advice for that person?
Can I teach your viewers the snap technique real quick? Real quick? Real quick. I can't even
Absolutely.
talk. We'll see if I can teach it. So this is one of the things that when I say I had faith that it would come to me in the book, when I was writing the book, I learn more easily. I think when that's like the wow, I have it's called snap. So when you're having those negative thoughts, the idea is to snap out of it, right? And so I taught this and literally this was complete download because I don't know, this just came to me, but snapping out of it had to mean something. So what it means is if you think about those negative thoughts and we want to have less of those and more of positive things like affirmations and stuff. So I like to think of it as like an on off switch. So what I teach is like, and this is very important when I said that about your network correcting you and you correcting them. And that's that ripple out there. So that's why I want to teach it here. So whatever your non-dominant hand is your first hand. And I always say, don't self-bully immediately if you can't snap. I don't care if you do the chicken dance with it. You just, you make the motion, whatever. But we're going to do a series of 4 snaps, 1 on each hand. I'm going to make you do it with me. So whatever your non-dominant hand is, that's the off, right? And then the dominant hand is your on switch. So it's off and on. Non-dominant, we want less of. We turn the switch on, that's turning our power on, right? So we're going to start with the non-dominant hand. That's my left hand. So we're going to do a series of 4 snaps, and it has words that go with it in the acronym, and it's speaking negatively attracts pain. I'm going to say it again. Speaking negatively attracts pain. That's the off. We don't want that. So we want to turn on our power, right? So we're going to start now activating power. This is our on switch. Okay, so if we start now activating power, so we'll do all 8 of them, 4 in a row. So it's speaking negatively attracts pain. Start now activating power. So this is, and you don't have to do all 8. So this is what happens when you get really good at this. This is what happens, Christine. Somebody's like, oh yeah, I went looking for a swimming suit. I didn't buy one. It was so gross. I looked so horrible. Like, this is a conversation that girls would have with each other, right? We're like, oh my God, I wouldn't be caught dead in a bikini. What? Like, people would run screaming. We couch self-bullying a lot in humor. And as a friend of that person, your job would be to go like that.
Right.
And if you have taught that, what that means is snap out of it. That's stop it. And you just keep doing that till they stop talking. This is what we do.
I love it.
And this is what you're doing. It doesn't matter what hand you're doing it with, because if you've taught it, what the other person understands is I have to stop talking. I have to reframe what I'm saying because my brain's listening, right? If I say I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm going to continue to overeat. I'm going to eat the wrong things. This is the thing. Your brain keeps trying to execute. This is why we need this reminder. You can snap yourself. And I will tell you, when you're really good, like my husband was through all of this development of all of this, and he's seen me speak many, many times, he will say to me, do I have to snap you? Like if I say something, and I'm like, nope. Like, because that he doesn't even have to do that, right? And sometimes he does just make a thing like that, and I do the same to him. That is our way of loving each other, right? And saying, stop, you need to love yourself, snap out of it, right? It's the message that is. And when you get really good at it, it's just a single snap, right? And that's a cue. You teach this to your girlfriends. You teach this to this community. That way, one another, when they know it, all they have to do is that, and they go, that's not serving you. That's what it means. It's not serving you.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I'm so glad.
Leave a snap out of it. If you're doing it, you're going to do it. Everybody's human, right? But the thing is, you can snap yourself out of it. You can snap one another out of it. You can teach your children to snap. Because the thing is, that starts really, really young, Christine. It starts usually around 3. It's why there's a bat. If you look at the cover of my book, it's why there's a bat with a foot, because that's the bat we beat ourselves up with. And it leaves words, hurtful words, ugly, stupid, fat, whatever words people say to us or whatever we say to ourselves, it leaves that imprint. And then when we repeat those things, it just continues to injure us. Right. And so that's you stepping on the bat on the front with 1 foot. And if you notice on the back cover, there's 2 feet on the bat, because if you've ever tried to pick up a baseball bat with somebody standing on it with 2 feet, it can't be done. and you put your feet on that bat, you can't pick it up either.
I love it.
No more beating yourself up.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sherri. It's been fabulous having you here. Before
Thank
I
you.
let you go, I just want to ask one more question. And is there anything that you would like to say to make the conversation feel more complete, or something I should have asked you and I didn't?
I would just remind you that you are a snowflake. You are a one of a kind, unrepeatable miracle. And when I say a snowflake, it's not like you're flaky. It's that no two snowflakes are exactly alike. And even in blizzard, they all look the same. But the reality is, not one of them is the same. There's not one that's exactly the same. That's you in the human race. There's nobody like you at all. They may look like you, even identical twins. They
Mm,
are not the same. They'll like different foods, they like different sports, they're built physically different. You are the only you there is. 1 in 8 billion people. You are an unrepeatable miracle. And when you stand up and stand out as that unrepeatable miracle, you will be as powerful as you can possibly imagine.
perfect ending. Thank you so much, Sherri. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
let you get on with your day. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been here. Thank you, Wendy, for all of your wonderful support in the comments and for introducing the two of us. It was through
Yes.
your Wow Award that I found out about Sherri and the amazing work she does. So thank you, Wendy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sherri, for being here. Please, if you are watching this in the replay and you have questions, drop them below and I'll make sure that Sherri sees them. And I hope you'll check out her Wow Mom opportunity and share your love with someone that could use some extra support and validation and being seen.
Yes.
And just reach out to either of us if there's anything that we can do to help you, because we've always got that hand out.
Absolutely. Yes, we do. And I'm thinking that Christine's going to be on that list for 2025. I'm pretty sure we're going to see that, be watching.
Awesome. I'll be watching. Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody. I'm wishing you wonder. Take care.